Summer Moon Utah Wells went missing from outside her home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County, Tennessee. She was reported missing June 15, 2021, around 6:30 p.m. by her parents. She was reported as 3 feet tall and 40 pounds, blonde hair, which was shaved at the time of her disappearance, and blue eyes. Anyone with information regarding Summer's whereabouts is urged to call 1-800 TBI FIND. There's a video titled "Why Is Summer Gone?" by Storms of Life Reality that was posted December 7th, 2021, which is another video of JodiSue from her live stream on Facebook. This is what she says. I find it important to listen to narratives she pushes. Figuring out why and what changes could be important. Why she leaves out and adds details when it's convenient for her is important. Jodi says, "Okay, guys, I'm back because a notification popped up from Michelle After Dark." This is a creator, she says. She's affiliated with another group, sort of. It's one of the ones my bestie watched well before this for other cases. So after my bestie, a couple months ago, told her to watch this lady, I've kind of watched Michelle After Dark's videos. Bestie wasn't wrong. The dogs running in the fields, it was pretty relaxing. So I kind of keep an eye on her videos and watch Michelle After Dark most of the time. Anyway, the other day, and honestly, she's one of the only ones I really see that seems to try to puzzle things out in a logical way and doesn't do it in a way that's really, it's unlike the other ones. And so, anyway, she actually seems to be sorting puzzle pieces out. But the other day, she had posted a video where he knows so blatantly that from very early on that Summer was not inside, even though that story keeps changing. And I'll tell you that how or why did I believe that to be true as well, Jodi says. Summer was not inside of that house. She was outside, Jodi says. How would you know, Jodi? In this video on Michelle After Dark, she's puzzling over why Candace said this and the other, what she locked herself into, and yeah, she's not far off, and it's things I stated in my videos early on, and it's this, and I think the same thing Michelle does. It was to look better than. But it was also because CPS visit was the next day, and also because Michelle's not wrong, and it tells us something that I have stated in my early videos, that this is something that happened to one of the other kids, and Candace thought I and one of the other neighbors would find Summer, like the other one had been found fairly quickly. What other one is she referring to? Jodi goes on. I think is she talking about Carly Trent? Jodi goes on. I think she lied because she thought, well, if the cops do come, will Summer still be found pretty quickly if the neighbors don't? And it was one of those. And I also didn't want to say it, but the boys were up there and stuff trying to protect them, and I think she thought Summer would be found pretty quickly and they'd be in a little trouble, but not much when CPS shows up tomorrow about the other shit. And maybe it will leave the other kids alone. There's several reasons that Bly, she tried to make it look like whatever at first, and I think locking herself into maybe a timeline that's not right. And if this scream holds, if my timeline holds, then that would be, 442 to 608, about an hour and a half difference from, the time she finished. I think Michelle, I have to wonder, right? Candace did not really have eyes on her for that long. She didn't know where she was at. Honestly, you would have been better off saying that to a cop from the get-go. Going, hey, my kid was playing outside. That would not have been unusual, quite frankly, but I think she wanted to present the best possible because, DCS was showing up the next day. There could be a lot of reasons for, but always been my theory behind it, but still yet, we're said to be in those first few minutes as Candace and I initially made contact at the bottom of the driveway and right there at the creek area. There were things that were said to me that day. The puzzle goes far deeper for me, and especially with what's been done lately as far as that Facebook video chat that happened between Candace and I, and her wanting me to change my story and not that money. The bullshit call to the Fed had her and Keys written on it. Then that hoax on the hill down there and all those things, it makes me think all kinds of things, however, than I didn't think initially, think in the beginning necessarily, and it makes me doubt all kinds of things. Then there's things I'm still not going to say or touch on or give specifics on, but I will say enough to say that Donnie, and I'm like, and I hate that because, obviously there's some bus throwing under there and all kinds of weirdness on abuse on that level. Summer was not in the house, and I think Candace did lock herself into a timeline, and I think 90% of the bullshit with the flowers, but yeah, I'm with Michelle, and all kinds of details were given to make them look better, like a piece of candy, this, that, and whatever the hell else. Jodi is literally just rambling incomplete sentences, and it's very hard to follow. So, Jodi goes on. I think I think she also does that on purpose when she does the incomplete sentences and she's hard to follow. I think she is like that naturally, but I think she plays into it a little bit on purpose to confuse people and to kind of play stupid in a way. So, it's a way of deflecting. That's a better way of saying it. Jodi goes on to say, and certain things that I know that I'm not going to say, I don't think anyone had a freaking clue where Summer was, but I think Candace thought she would be found in short order, just like I had mentioned forever ago in another video about the other one being lost at one point and everybody's effort to find them, and they were nonverbal at the time, and we just thought it would be Summer found in short order without the neighbors, without the police, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it was that big of a deal. Whoa, Jodi, wait a minute. If you thought it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, that she would be found in short order, why were you thinking instantly to check the creek and take the creek for the scent dogs? Jodi continues. But then I just think this bullshit could be normal behavior patterns for them because losing kids is no big fucking deal over there. Kinda used to that shit, I guess. And then, at a certain point, there's no, like to them, they're basically basic people. So to them, it's like, yeah, Summer's probably gone, one way or another. So we might as well profit and play games that entertain us and prank calls and other bullshit. No big fucking deal, right? Right, Jodi? Kind of like the games and manipulation you do on YouTube for fun. Jodi says, and now them pranks, bullshit, the money matters more. Maybe in a way, they know there's really no chance in hell the other one's ever coming back. And Summers, so continued pattern if they didn't have anything to do with it. But I'm saying things here that I've said before months ago on other videos that are harder for people to piece and part together because an hour, 2 hours, I jump into my spiderweb brain, but Michelle is saying things that I have been saying for months, just in an easier digested fashion, right? I think Candace thought Summer would be found shortly, and I still took the risk of calling that day, and that's not the way it turned out. And then, if that noise, the scream, it had something to do with it, if that holds, who the hell knows? But still, yeah, there's still something wrong with the dogs. There's still something wrong with all kinds of things. And what the puzzle is, why or who did whatever, it still remains. And even yet, there could be reasons for all of that same behavior, even. Either way, it's cut. But to me, that first day, it's what it seems like. And because, like I said, other things that I'm still not going to say, but I really, really, truly believe she was outside, just like Don stated, as well as on several interviews. And for reasons I won't say, but yeah, definitely outside. And I'm like, Candace locked herself into shit. And this conversation Candace and I had at the bottom of the property, I was like, look, sorry, my shit might break your shit, but that's just the way it is. What is she talking about? Jody goes on, I found odd about the Facebook vid chat between us, like she never asked me to change my story or to do anything like hers until that shit. And now came out my name. You can tell she was digging for somebody and doing something, worried about her own teeth, this, that, and the other. And it's like, what the fuck? Like I said, dude, if your kid's missing, it's like my own. I'm all jacked up because the radiation. My kid's missing. I don't give a fuck. I'll be damned. Kids first, teeth later, money later. Like, what the hell? But definitely digging up shit from somebody else's past during that video chat. Definitely more worried about money. But it's just the type of people they are, and all these things just, it's just worrisome, quite frankly. Because to me, if you have people that can hurt animals, you have people that can dump them and just do things that I've seen done. And they're just like, whoa, and kids go on. And to play all these pranks and cons and games and then to fall somewhere on the psychopathy scale high enough that they can pass a lie detector test easily. And that's something I've often thought of. You know what, Jody? I've often thought of that about you. Jody continues, and I know that some people could do that, but her face that first day for me, just like it was like, no way. But now that I've watched her lie to me and have larger tears, and the other day on that vid chat than she did the first day, all these other things and pranks and shit they've pulled along the way, then knowing the other night I watched her face in that live chat with Benny Keys get on there and be all super smug and shit. Yeah, have Andy call me. There's another prank, a con, like a 12-year-old little girl would. It's gross and disgusting, and then if they're behind it, I know they're behind that call, and somehow I know somehow they're behind that call. And the feds, after they called them and didn't know what was going on, and did the video chat with me 3 days later because nobody bothered telling me, the thing was to twist and to target my children. And it's just the fucking grossest thing of things across the board at this point. Um, but that's another level of games, and I doubt all kinds of things across the board at this point. And I don't know what to think, but I know that the hill is just, I've always known this, that is an entirely different level of different screwed up. But Michelle After Dark, um, she's one of the only ones I've seen trying to puzzle through this, and I know that it's often that she actually does bother to watch home videos and things, and she will find things that I say and this, that, and the other, and be able to put it into a more linear and digestible fashion to where they're easier for others to digest and to follow along than I can make things. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that, I'm not very short-winded, and my brain works a little different in patterns and spider webs and connections. But she's not far off, I don't think, and I know that all kinds of things have cast all kinds of stuff into doubt for me. The behavior recently off that hill, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to use Andy for, it's gross. What they've done since, and I absolutely feel inside my soul and pick up little pieces of, because when they're the only ones on earth saying it, and then it comes to me in the form of feds and, like knock at the door prior, then 3 days later, here they are digging and skeezing the same bullshit because they don't know what's happening with their bullshit call. And then these hoaxes and all these prank bullshit, even on his sisters, who I know aren't lying. And I knew this from the first post that they made online. Their first posts that they made online that were in written form, because I knew enough about Utah to know they weren't lying, and I never doubted them. But then Don himself turns to me, as he's more worried about watching himself on YouTube than stopping that one night because he had taken me to town because my car was hung off the cliff. So I gave him money to buy dinner and gave him like $20 or whatever. But he had done an interview and he was more worried about watching himself in that interview than anything. He said that he did that to his sisters. Then it's like almost the last thought, after he says it, and it's been a couple minutes, and he's driving all erratic, and he's trying to watch at the same time, and with the volume and everything, it's like an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, but it was their fault, and they were trying my dad too. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, buddy. Excuse me. I just don't know what to think most days, but I know there's damn sure somebody that did this, and I don't know who that is, and I don't know, well, nobody takes a little girl to take her to Disney World, and that's the fucking truth, and we know it. Nobody's done that, which is why the bullshit with Chase is a way of shutting me up, but it's like a leaked phone call with Tiffany a week later, but by that point, I had it on my Facebook, so I guess I was psychic, but that fucks up the fundraiser and Chase's superhero image, and then it helps shut down the second fundraiser, and it was going international with Chase, and then coincided with the Friday timeline I was given to be quiet and to shut the hell up over, and offered more money and threatened, and Squaltit comes out with the stolen videos that BK had freaking asked her to steal. Excuse me. And was definitely digging for him. And then you have Keys up there involved in the bullshit on the Hill, and the only ones parroting exactly what the feds who came here for you all could now. It's so fucked, y'all. The whole thing. It's so weird, but yeah, Michelle After Dark is at least trying to puzzle it out in a fashion that I don't see her asking for super chats, but she's able to take pieces and parts that I've said over the months and put them together in a form that's more linear and digestible and can fit quickly and can put the picture together quicker for people who need it, more easily digestible. So Michelle must have been posting content that was aligning with what Jodi was wanting people to think and go along with at that time. Jodi continues, and her dogs are in the field in the morning, so they're usually, but today's video from her, she's not far off track for sure. I would love to know which live of Michelle's she is referring to here, what date this actual video is from for sure. Jodi continues, but how am I that is? Because the thing is, I could be wrong. I don't know how the kids could be, that sound, that scream. It's just, I'm telling you guys, it wasn't an animal. It wasn't Candace. It wasn't this, that, and the other. And I waited after to see if there's any noise, because you think a kid would cry after that. You think it would be the boys. The kids were playing. You'd think right behind a noise like that, you'd hear "Don't Tell Mom," or you'd hear the second squall of "I'm telling," or bickering or arguing or "I'm telling," but none of that happened. Now, if Jodi is so certain that scream would definitely require a child's voice afterwards saying "don't tell" or whatever, don't you think she would remember what it sounded like? It obviously wasn't that traumatic. Or she would say it sounded like Summer screaming bloody murder, or it sounded like someone being killed. She didn't say that. She now is saying it was mild enough that it could have just been kids horseplaying and what she expected to hear next, but she can't remember what the scream sounded like. Okay, I don't buy it. I think she's lying about the scream, and I think she wants us to believe something happened around 4:30, June 15th, 2021. Jodi continues, I know it wasn't my other neighbors. I know it wasn't. It wasn't the dogs or a cat. It wasn't any of those things. I do have questions even still, like to think into the driveway, and that's proven on videotape. But like I said, sound from the main road comes up the same way, just like it does with that freaking cow, and that freaking cow is all the way out at the main road. And there's still a damn manhole that I'm looking for the cover for, and it's located, I don't know where it's at, but it's a damn circular one, and it has to be in the grass. Anyway, that could be just as simple as someone passing dope off at 3 or 4 in the morning. There's so many things that I don't know, and I don't say. And anyway, Michelle After Dark, I think she's pretty on the mark about why Candace, no matter which timeline there was, definitely eyes off Summer for a while. Whether my timeline holds it, I think it's more fitting than Candace's, but I don't think it is. I think there were eyes off Summer for quite a while, and even if you dispense all these stupid games and pranks and monetary gain now to be had by them, because they are the type to be like, oh well, dogs, kids, prison, I don't give a shit, you know? Then to play games with me, target me, use my abuser, and all this, even if half the time I was like, still gave a shit enough to be like, y'all, okay, whatever else you know, this is how you clean a wound. Do not put a heating pad on it, like, for fuck's sake, here's a nipple at 3 a.m. You know, how you gonna reply with whatever, with that, whatever, because you're salty, because I'm telling the fucking truth. I guess whatever. I don't think Michelle After Dark is all that wrong, obviously, because stuff I have said in my videos for months now, she's able to put those little pieces together. And I do it in a little more digestible format anyway. That's all I got to say about it today before some kind of slips, before I end up saying shit I don't want to say. So, yeah. So I've said since the beginning, if the timeline I have is correct, then so be it, and I don't care which timeline is what, honestly. I think there was eyes off Summer for a while, and I definitely do not believe she was inside of that house. And this is definitely not the first time one of the kids went missing, but at first I didn't believe the look on her face, but now because of what Candace has done to me and the faces I have seen since, were more convincing than that day, quite frankly. I have my fucking doubts. But whatever. I mean, I was just doing something about that, you know, but the cops will know times. But shit, that has been directed towards me off that hill, especially what I saw the other night. Have BK do this, have BK do that. And I'm pretty sure that's what the laughter was during that Facebook chat between her and I that night, and whoever she had behind the scenes there was lying and didn't want people to know, but then she had given Keys my location and played stupid games about it. Man, there's something wrong. You don't play those types of games if you're doing that to profit or be petty or get back at me or shut me down, even if it's not criminal during your missing daughter's case. I find that fucked up, quite frankly. Jody, can you please be a little more clear on what you find fucked up? Can you please try to finish a sentence before you start another one? Because I'm not lying, and I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not changing my story for anybody, Jody says. And I know the last place I saw Summer. But you know, after all these months to ask me to change my story and for that one piece, and I don't get it because that was something people had already read online. So when I said it, maybe it's just because they thought it held more weight as opposed to PG or Jenna. But for some reason it was taken as, and that is a piece they want me to change, and the money and her teeth, which also add up with the messages from Cher. But the date and time doesn't adds up. See how Jody is throwing names and random details in there to try to manipulate people into thinking there's some kind excuse me, some kind of plan against her by certain people, and she is one that groups them together. She does that. They're not grouped together in real life like Jody makes it out to be. Jody continues. It's a really screwed up situation, she says. I just don't know, but for me, what's happening after casts more doubt on everything, and had Candace never done any of what's being done recently to I and my kids, especially BK, and all the while maintained that her face and the way she behaved that day was legit. But after all the pranks and all the bullshit they pulled, it's just, and this sick shit they pulled here, I don't know what to think. The more it comes into play with the well, and I've always had that thought, honestly, in the back of my head. It's like I know how they are with the animals. I know how they are with this, and it's like I've always known that fact to be true about certain people, score in certain ways on that scale on the lie detector test, and that's something that's been in the back of my mind. The more they do these things, the more I wonder openly. I also wonder about certain contacts of certain people and how certain people have locations that I know about that they shouldn't know about if there was no further contact between them and the hill in the first few hours and days. And it makes no sense to me, and it's part of the puzzle I'm trying to piece and part out. but I am going to hop off here to make this one short and sweet. Maybe people can digest it simpler. I don't know. But Michelle at least seems to be trying to puzzle things together, and it seems to me that she may be watching some of my videos and taking pieces and parts and putting them into an easier, more digestible format. So my doubts grow, but still, with people like that, it could just be as simple as regular patterns showing regular behaviors, still not actually nothing nefarious, simple as money or whatever. But nothing's coming back, and you don't really care if it does or whatever. You know, it's like, I guess at a certain point, it doesn't matter. I mean, are they guilty or doing anything to Summer? It just means by their continued behavior, they're not the best people. And it could be two things could exist simultaneously. It could be that somebody took Summer, who, why, how, don't know. Don't necessarily mean they're guilty, but yeah, I don't know. And I don't know the answers, and I wish to shit I did every day. But I gotta tell you, I don't appreciate the stupid little games coming from there, and I don't enjoy the smirks on people's faces as they think, oh, we're gonna get back at JodiSue by weaponizing her abuser. I'll enjoy that. My children will enjoy that too. This person escaped her own abuser, and for her to do what she's doing is 3 levels of fucked up, especially with my own children involved. What the fuck's it matter? I guess you can drop it off. All kinds of children, something, she says. Who cares, right? When you give as much of a shit as you do about dropping off dogs, I guess you think people probably feel the same about their kids. My kids mean more than anything on this earth to me, she says. And they know that, right? So that's why they continue to target, but their thoughts are sure it traumatizes, it hurts. So either way, short and sweet. So there you go. I'm going to hop off here now. It sounds like Jodi is paranoid about her children or one of her children being targeted because she has guilty knowledge of something they have done. That could be totally wrong because Jodi is so hard to comprehend. She makes it seem that way to me, though, and that's just my personal opinion. I'm beginning to wonder if any of this stuff that Jodi is saying is even true. Why would she want us to believe this narrative? She seems to be protecting her children and seems to be protecting them against something greater than the internet, because if it was merely the internet, that would be easy, just log off. But she stays on. So to me, that's not it. If one of her children did something awful, if there were some sort of accident, I would think that would make sense with the way that she's acting. Or if one of her children or herself knows what happened to Summer, that would make sense why Jodi is on here pushing this narrative, trying to get us all to believe that she is being targeted by Benny Keys and Tiffany Marie, people that we know aren't targeting Jodi. They're just trying to straighten out as many facts as they can and organize the speculation as well, but in a separate file, if you will. Jodi might have been an easy target for someone like Brad Wishon to try and take advantage of, but not Tiffany and Benny and all other creators she claims to be targeting and harassing her and her children, or would lead us to believe that. Jodi doesn't like that, in my opinion, because they can prove things Jodi says wrong, like with her timeline and how the whole time frame between 6:09 and 6:30 doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense when she said she heard Candace on the phone with Don, and then when she's seen Andy pulling up. It doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense. Certain things like the dogs. Why? Do the dogs know where Summer is? Are you trying to make us believe it's possible the dogs have done something to Summer? What is it with the dogs? And the scream that she was randomly bringing up all the time. Does she want us to believe it was around 4:30 to 4:42 when something happened to Summer? Why would she want us to believe that? Is it because she found out Fred Hill said he saw Andy back there in his hauler going back to his old property, which he hasn't been to in a year? So she wanted to make it sound like something happened to Summer after the time frame of 3 to 3:30, putting Andy not in the area and knowing that's a time Summer would have allegedly been home. It feels to me like Jodi is pushing a narrative that something happened to Summer the 15th of June around 4:30 p.m. and the way she feels about Dawn and Candace, that they have nothing to do with it, that Summer was abducted. Yes, she makes Dawn and Candace look really bad for some reason. Jodi says a lot. Stranger abduction could be possible. But that doesn't mean Dawn and Candace weren't guilty of other things, according to Jodi. She pushes the narrative that makes Dawn and Candace look bad, which makes Dawn look abusive towards Candace, but not as abusive as Andy towards her. She claims to know a lot, actually, about the Wells family dynamics for how little of time she claims to have spent with them. I have to seriously wonder if half or any of what Jodi says is even true. I think Jodi was in the creek longer than what she says she was, and I think she was in there for a different reason than she says she was, because it wasn't logical for her to just jump into a creek, especially one that she knows to be dirty and needle-ridden, before she even knew what was going on. She hadn't even been told what was going on before she was already thinking about search dogs, and that always stood out to me. She gives hardly any detail on what exactly she was doing right up until 6:09, but she gives exact detail on everything for the next half hour, precisely where she stepped and all. She could have given more detail about the events leading up to hearing the first calls for Summer, in my opinion, because she herself emphasized how important it is to look at the moments and of even days and weeks leading up to the disappearance. If we knew exactly what time Summer disappeared, we would likely know what happened to her, who has her or who took her and has hidden her. I want to know if Summer is alive. I want to know if she is forever 5 or turning 7 on February 4th. I would love to know that she is turning 7. I would love it if someone would just come and remember that detail that we need to solve this case. Conveniently enough, no one seems to remember anything that matters enough that it actually helps Summer. Don and Candace haven't named the right people who they think have Summer, given they are so sure she was abducted, and they're not actively out in the community searching for Summer and looking for clues for Summer and making sure flyers are hung, etc. This makes me question, do they really think she was abducted? Do they really want her found? Why not if not? Don and Candace have they done something to Summer? Then if that's the case, JodiSue is just tragedy pimping straight up. That's not even that means she wouldn't even be covering for anyone unless she knows who helped get rid of Summer, but for what? I don't know. Anything is possible. And until I hear from law enforcement or in a courtroom what happened to Summer Wells, I will never stop wondering and searching for answers. Jodi will always be suspicious to me because there's no way she's just doing this for money. I can't believe that. It's got to be stressful sitting through lives like that every day, repeating the same shit and having to remember all these stories which change over time. So there's no way it's all true. So you've got to be remembering some lies, which probably isn't that easy. So to me, Jodi is in it for more than money. All the terrorizing probably isn't what she makes it out to be, but probably it is a lot of negativity cast their way, and I'm sure that would be rough for anyone to deal with on a daily basis. And yet she still is here every day, pushing the same narrative a year and a half later. She's so tired that she's falling asleep, so I don't know if that's medication or the fact that she is just that tired, but she seems highly medicated. I think JodiSue is one piece of Summer's puzzle, and I can't figure out where she actually fits, because where Jodi says she fits in Summer's puzzle doesn't make sense to me. All right. We love you, Summer. Bye.